Speaker, and I rise proudly to speak in support of the bill, and with I think a healthy dose of humility as a participant with fairly rose-coloured glasses towards the old primary industries. I'm not born and raised on a farm, and my family connection to farming primarily in Western Australia has been episodic to the point where I've always looked at it as the greatest way of life that there is. I spent a short time at WA's perhaps smallest primary school and took weeks off to shear and returned for holiday breaks throughout my primary and senior schooling, and it remains in an aspiration to farming being the highest calling in many ways. But I say that perhaps to illustrate the rose-coloured glasses approach to what I know are the real life, day-to-day, mundane struggles of farming families and communities throughout our state and our nation. And to get a few things straight, we're debating this bill in circumstances not where, as we do in this parliament, we deal with the necessary social supports for vulnerable communities, vulnerable children, those in need. In circumstances of drought, yes, that's where our families and communities on the farm find themselves, but these are families and communities who are contributing to our state's single largest export, about half our exports. They contribute enormously to our state's revenue. Their products are woven into the carpet in this chamber. They are families and communities that are at the foundation of what we take pride and joy in celebrating about what makes us South Australian. And as we come to this debate in this week of the Royal Adelaide Show, at a time where those families and communities are coming to town, as they have done for decades and decades and decades, to show off the world's best produce, we bear in mind that this is the strength of our state. This is at the heart and soul and at the core of what is successful about our state, has been so from the very beginning, still is so, and will be so for the decades and centuries to come. And I say that emphasising one more thing, and in the celebrated memory of that great man of South Australian politics, Bert Kelly, the long-time member for Wakefield, who led the charge federally, preceded, I might say, we've had a contribution from the member for MacKillop, preceded in Wakefield by the member for MacKillop's grandfather, Philip McBride, who also did that area proud. But I focus on Bert Kelly because, as he described himself as the modest member, as the minister's right to emphasise, he was taking up that important debate in the federal parliament throughout his time, at many times arguing the merits of the free trade argument that has now finally won the day. But he took up that fight really, as often, a lonely voice in circumstances where there were lots of voices around the parliament, including from the country party as it then was, National Party and broader interests, that spoke up for what abides in so many parts of the world, which is a highly subsidised protection model for primary industries. We see that still the case, very much so, in Europe and in other parts of the world. Bert Kelly's success in prosecuting the argument for Australia, and in particular our primary producers, to be at the forefront in a free trade environment globally, speaking up for the benefits that would flow, have meant that over these many decades, our South Australian primary producers have been at the global forefront, producing the very best produce that there is to be found in food and fibre and wine and all those wonderful products, not with their hand constantly held out and not with the constant featherbed of public policy around them to provide some sort of advantage into markets, but quite to the contrary. They've had to suffer the slings and arrows of the global fortunes, the fluctuations in global pricing, exposure to just about every external market force that might be coming along. And that's before they have to navigate the vagaries of the natural elements that are the focus of some modicum of support that might come through this mechanism for the installation of a drought response and recovery coordinator. And so I highlight where we all are here in this state parliament. And there's been a contribution to the debate, including relevantly highlighting the important role of the federal government from the taxation side. And I think it's well to remind us that schemes such as may be available to ameliorate the effect of the feast and famine that comes with seasons good and bad are very important core business for federal government to deal with. But what is front and centre and remains so for state governments and for those of us here in this state parliament is the health and security of our farming families and communities. That's what we're good at in state governments. We're good at getting around families and communities and providing supports when they need it. And we've heard a bit about the mental health challenges that come along when you're not only at the helm of your family business, but you're also at the helm of your family, looking to bring up children and keep them thriving at home, get them going to school, to keep up the opportunities that might come for them, while bearing the financial pressure and the personal identity crisis that comes when you're under the unique combination of pressures that affect those heroic women and men at the helm of farming businesses around our state. And so, you know, we talk about resilience. Sure, that's a word you can bandy about. It's for no small reason that our farming enterprises are known for being characterised by their resilience. It's an essential element that's on display all the time. That's particularly so in drought, in circumstances of drought. And so it's acutely relevant that the state parliament can legislate for the application of a coordinator in response to circumstances of drought, of those circumstances that come along, as we know, periodically, and that can therefore apply supports, both social and health and financial, to help people through. And I just emphasise that if there's a purpose for government in relation to families and communities, it's to demonstrate that you're there for them with all of the tools at your disposal to let them know that they can actually have confidence that the public institutions have got their back. And so we would do well, and not so very much at the least in this week at which our country families have come to town to show off their world-beating wares, to recognise their great work by getting on with legislating to support them via this mechanism.
The